Okay, so this is going to be my Matrix Resurrections review. I went today, Tuesday. It's 28th. I just walked home, which is very far. But because I have no money, and I didn't have the money to spend on the movie either, I decided I was going to save money by only taking the bus up. And I walked. It was like, I'm really proud of myself that I made it home without collapsing. So anyway, I'm very still excitable. I saw it at the AMC in the big room, which I usually don't like the big room, but I'm really glad that I saw it on the much larger screen, and I am really glad that I went and saw this in the movie. I'm really happy about that I went to the theater. I don't know, again, I've been saying this since the beginning of the pandemic, I don't know what they're going to do. Spider-Man just basically saved the box office, but at the same time, cities are starting to put in more restrictions, where some places are saying that people have to have proof of vaccinations to go into any kind of places like these, any kind of theaters and stuff, and restaurants and things. So I don't know if that's going to further damage the movies. I know that Spider-Man did really well, but I don't think you could watch that at home. Matrix, I think, was what they call day and date, where you where it streams the same day that it comes out in the theater. And in the theater I was in, it was really pretty empty. Like I said, that's the big room. I don't know how many people really fit in there, but it's hundreds, obviously. But I don't know how many of us there were. I'm gonna say 50 or under. So what I have is I have notes that I took because I was like, I'm not going to be able to, because I decided to go to the theater and I didn't have the option. I could not have paid for, because it was $6.50, I was able to squeak this out. If it hadn't been and I needed to pay $14.99 for HBO Max, that would have never happened, because I don't have anywhere near that kind of money. So because I did that, I said, oh, I'm going to take notes. So you want to take a look at my notes? This is I used to do this all the time because I used to because for years and years I had my little live journal list that I used to do every year. As I saw movies throughout the year, I would write a little paragraph about them, what I thought, and then, as I saw a second movie, I would put it lower or higher, and that's how I would keep track, so that by the end of the year I wouldn't have to sit there and go, oh, what were my favorite movies of the year, and try to put them in order. They already were in order, because every time I saw a movie, I could write my little thoughts about them that day, and I would have it, and I would put it where it belonged. Well, did I like it better than that one? Did I like it less? You know what I mean? So by the end of the year, when only the newest movies were fresh in my mind, I had pretty much accurate appraisal. So I would, if it was a movie I thought I might need to take notes on, I would, and my notes would look like this. So because I'm going to be referring to these notes, I'm going to be doing a lot of this like I did in the beginning of me doing reviews and stuff, because I didn't know how to really react and stuff the way people do and stuff. I'm going to keep saying and stuff like I'm in the 6th grade. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but I'm very hyper still. Yeah, so this is going to be total spoilers. Right now, I'm going to go into the review. I'm going to be looking at my notes. I'm going to be talking and rambling. Maybe at the end, I'll try to make a cohesive part that makes sense and come to some conclusions. But let me see. Let me pause for a second and collect myself, and we will get into the actual review of what I thought of the whole movie. Okay, so I've been, watching all the trailers, reacting to them, and I said years ago that I thought I really loved Revolutions, and I thought that it felt like the middle film of 5, because I thought that was an obvious jumping off point, because I did not believe Neo was dead. I don't still believe he was dead. They say he was dead, fine, whatever, but and the machines brought about all that stuff, I get it, but my thinking was that he was going to be able to co-create with, the Matrix, the source or whatever, to, you know, do that. And that at the very end of Revolutions, when the cat reset and the Oracle and Sati were sitting there, that it would now be like Neo's version of the Matrix would be what went on. That's not what ended up happening. But he did create the Matrix. Now in this thing, he is the game designer he was always meant to be. And at first you can't tell, you're like, wait a minute, was the movie the game? And you're just like, what the hell's going on? But I like that it turned out that yes, he has abilities and he can do things, and he's not just a slave anymore. Or is he? And this is where I don't know if other people didn't like it. I don't know. I don't want to get into what other people thought, but it just makes me wonder. So he's been this, he's got that friend Jude, and I couldn't understand what the hell was going on with them at first, but let me just say I love the movie. I love the movie before we even, you know, get too far into it. Yeah, my version of what I thought was going to happen might have been a little bit better, but I love that it was, I love all the meta stuff. Clearly, the way they have it, the way it's organized, since it's in the future, so far in the future from the last movie, Morpheus would have to be like 105 years old, so that's why I believe we have Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. I don't know if there was some falling out or they decided to not go with them. And Agent Smith and all that. I don't completely understand why it's Jonathan Groff, but it's fine. And it's not completely Jonathan Groff. He's like half and half. But like I said, I don't want to get into the plot of the movie exactly because I'm supposed to be reviewing it. See, this is what happens to me when I have notes. I'm pausing again. Okay, so Doogie is his I'm never gonna stop calling that kid Doogie. He's not a kid, he's my age. We were the same age. We were both kids when he was on Doogie Howser. So yeah, he's kind of the architect, but not. I think everybody kind of put that together. A little bit of the Neil Patrick Harris. There was a little bit of him was a little bit too much, a little bit too NPH. And as I was watching the movie, I was like, I think I'm going to have to give this a 9.5 because I didn't want to give it a 9 because that's too low. But the some of the camera things, like the way they were having Neil Patrick Harris's movements in the so-called bullet time, where it started to look, there was this, I don't know what you call it. It's not exactly slow motion. It's something that, when I think of that, I think of like music videos from like 1986. Steve Winwood had one and stuff like that. I think that kind of effect, or whatever you want to call it, or camera thing, was also used in Slumdog Millionaire quite a bit. I don't like it. It's like, I don't know what you would call it. It's like a weird, it's like a stutter instead of like bullet time or slow motion or whatever. And I didn't like that. But the movie looked beautiful. I mean, apart from that, so I was going to ding it half a point for that, but certain things happen later on down the line that I said, I don't think I can do that. That they have him down as a suicide survivor, I thought was interesting. And at some point you start to think, you know, I think if you really go into the movie with an open mind, you start to say, well, maybe we're wrong. Maybe maybe it is all in his head, you know, and I think that's pretty cool. But, you know, he was so sad in the beginning, and just, like, the jump from, like I said, I thought he was going to co-create the Matrix, to just being totally inside the Matrix and, just on the blue pills to try to forget everything. I didn't understand how that was going to make sense. But when I had speculated about what the movie could be, and I said, hey, in the Matrix, now if he's co-creating, he could be in the Matrix some guy called Keanu Reeves who stars in John Wick movies and stars in Matrix movies. You know, not exactly, but he has now created the Matrix in the Matrix that he's a part of. But like I said, I still believe he co-creates. So I could be wrong. But that was the whole point of the Matrix in the first place, is that he could co-create. He could sort of write code while he was in it. That was from the first movie. But I'm not a computer programmer person, and I don't care about the computer stuff, and maybe that's why other people don't like it, because I'm more on the fruity side. And since I'm saying it now, let me say it. I love the Merovingian. I have always loved the Merovingian. I said that he was my guy in a previous video. That's exactly who I would be. That's who I kind of am right now. Like this bum person who's constantly complaining about everything. And I was just like, oh, I love him so much, it hurts. You know what I mean? It's like, I am so simpatico with the Merovingian then and now. You know, I know what it means, and I know it makes me a bad guy. It was nice seeing the people, the behind the scenes people, because, of course, Chad Stahelski's there, which I don't know why somebody decided to spoil that, because I thought it was cool, but I had seen it on Twitter, and I thought it was cool that he ended up being, Tiffany's husband. And I was like, is he an agent? But, I also noticed, like, the special effects guys and everything, like, people were popping up, and I'm like, I recognize all these people from watching the behind the scenes, not just back then, but I just rewatched everything in the last couple months, you know, in the hopes that I would see this movie. So that I really like that. I don't understand people not liking meta this and meta that, but whatever. So, there's that. And then, like I said, there were the guys from Sense8. I was like, okay. And at one point, the film got very Sense8. What point was that? See, this is why I'm going to be out of step here. Look, I can't read my notes. Choice is an illusion. Yeah, I know that. I've always known that. I said it. I think it is what it is. Thelma Hopkins. This is what I'm saying. I'm going to be all over the place. Because I saw this lady, you know, being like, doing botany things, and I'm sitting there looking at her. And I'm like, oh, nice old lady. And she turns around, she starts talking, I'm like, oh my god. All right, Thelma Hopkins was on like every single show. She was on, I'm pretty sure she was on Give Me a Break, but she was like on everything when we were kids growing up. And if you don't know, she was half of Dawn from Tony Orlando and Dawn. And I just instantly recognized her. I'm like, oh my god. You know what I mean? And since we're talking about that, Jada Pinkett looks better with her old lady makeup on than she does with her super tight plastic surgery face, or whatever the hell these people are doing and shooting in their face. She looked much better as an old lady. And her old lady makeup very much looked like Halle Berry's old lady makeup from Cloud Atlas, which I watched last night, which I loved. And this is why I feel like those of us who liked or loved Sense8, I liked it quite a bit, but like I said, there was too much slow-mo. And I loved Cloud Atlas. It's along the lines of what The Matrix, this movie, is about. It ends up being about, you know, all this fruity crap that I like. Manifesting, and are we living in a simulation? You could go back to World on a Wire, which is like a precursor of The Matrix. Entirely possible that you and I right now are in a simulation. I love that the name of the cafe is called Simulate. I gotta just say things as they come to me. The lighting, I'm thinking of how it looked. All those things, the lighting, especially the lighting in the second, the big confrontation scene, the big showdown at Simulate. I just thought It looks so perfect. I was like, this is lighting. This lighting's making me so happy. I want to marry this lighting. I love it so much. I was thinking like a lot of that stuff. I was thinking it was reminding me of The Dark Knight. But the thing is, The Dark Knight, the lighting wasn't that great in some scenes. Like at the very end, when Harvey Dent and Batman are, you know, and it's dark and they got the kid. That is the one little ding on The Dark Knight, which is my number 11 all-time favorite movie, because of the lighting stuff. But this, I was like, it was reminding me of The Dark Knight. I'm like, but the lighting's so good. You know what I mean? Like the nighttime lighting was beautiful. It was like, I don't even know how you do that. Why doesn't every movie look like that when it's nighttime? Anyway, it looks so beautiful. And The Matrix always had great cinematography, but this was like even better. So Morpheus, I'm not 100% sure I get that, but I think he said something like he's half Morpheus, half Smith. Everybody's half Smith or something. I don't know. But the nanobot thing, it reminded me of this movie Johnny Depp was in. I forget it was called Transcendence or something. It was like he was a scientist or whatever, and he was gonna die, so he like put his brain into the computer. You know what I mean? I think it's something like that. But now I'm starting to flip out and my brain's going ahead of me. I'm gonna pause for a minute and read my notes if I can. Okay, so they were talking about Christina Ricci was there, which cracked me up. I don't know who she was supposed to be, kind of, but they were talking about making Matrix 4 and Warner Brothers, and I felt, and then you know Neo's eating steak and everything, and I just felt like it. Oh yeah, and that girl from Sense8 who's on that other show, the hospital show. I should really look up these people's names. And the swarms of birds. Did anybody else notice during lockdown how many swarms of birds there were? Anyway, I just was like, when I was in the movie, I was like, hang on a second. Then I was, when him and Trinity, well, Tiffany, were having their little coffee there, and he bought her coffee, I was like, you can't buy some guy's wife's coffee. Yeah, so like I said, he's a world famous game designer, which I don't even know what that means. Do they have world famous game designers? Okay, this is the last. Oh yeah, I'm trying to find out which. Oh yeah, the Kung Fu. Wait for this one. I like the Kung Fu better in this movie. Now, I have been complaining about these movies having all the same like looking mean hugs, MMA, jiu-jitsu looking, roll on the floor kind of, you know, it looks like that in all the Marvel movies. It looks like that. You know what I mean? It's tiring, and this looked actually cool. Now, we all complain about the shaky cam. I don't like shaky cam. There was a little bit of it, but this, to me, the style, and like, again, the cinematography, the lighting and everything, and the way that the fights were done, it wasn't a lot of fighting, but it was really cool looking fighting in terms of how it was shot and everything like that. I really liked it because it was like, it's not about the Kung Fu. It's not about that, and to me, for me, the story wasn't. I know a lot of people like that stuff. And that's the part they, you know, who designed the fights and all that. I get that, but for me, it was just like, it looked cooler. It just did. When they did something and they showed like the bombed out city place, and I was like, it kind of, because I just watched Cloud Atlas last night, it kind of looked like Neo Soul. Not Neo's Soul, New Seoul, meaning Korea, in Cloud Atlas. I really love that movie. If people didn't watch it, I don't know why. Yeah, the idea is that, okay, Neo needed Trinity, and he always did, in order to have his superpowers. He needed to it's like he needed his heart chakra to power him in order to to give him his superpowers, because he needs that motivation. And that's like a twin flame thing. And this is what I'm saying. All this fruity crap, this manifestation, simulation, all this kind of stuff that people like myself would look up on the YouTubes and watch all these kind of videos. This is our wheelhouse. So if you watch that kind of stuff, you're not going to be upset if Trinity plays a major role. And Trinity is necessary for Neo to be the one that he's not, but he is. But you get the idea. So at the end, at the very end, when Neo and Trinity are like, now they can just change things, like when she's like beating up NPH, that to me is what Neo should have understood at the end of Revolutions, that he's now in control. He can do whatever the hell he wants, you know what I mean? He could completely design the Matrix from inside. And instead, somehow, like they said there was a time of peace, so since 60 years went by, it's entirely possible that the Matrix that I thought that Neo would have co-created did happen at some point, but then something else went wrong. And this, I think, is what happens like when you have a movie, like when too much time goes by between sequels, because like say you go from Return of the Jedi and the Empire's defeated and everybody should be happy, so if you make movies relatively short time after that, you're going to make it where there's no Empire. You make movies 20 years later and all your main characters are too old to pick up where they left off. You have to do it in the future, and then the thing is, people will say, okay, well maybe things went wrong again. So to some degree it allows a reset, and this is nothing like The Force Awakens, because that was a pile of shit. That was just regurgitated crap. This was its own thing. This was completely different. I'm getting deja vu. Not a cat. I'm getting deja vu on my own. Whenever that happens, I have to stop. So the point is, so there was a peace. So there could have been a time when Neo was more in control, because again, that's right. They explained that the machines and they went in and they refurbished him and they like sewed him back together and all this stuff. But what I thought would happen, I thought he would co-create, and then it would be like machines and like a peace treaty. They had some kind of truce, which they did have, because that's what Niobe is trying to maintain, this truce where the machines and the people work together. Why Neo ended up back in the Matrix is because he was supposed to be dead. I didn't think he was dead. I thought he would have been what is it, Trinity, right? Father, Son, Holy Spirit, right? So I would have thought he was Holy Spirit. Okay, so I would have thought he was part of the machine, like the ghost in the machine, you know what I mean? He would have been like that, which would mean he could create a clone of Neo and just redo his whole life or whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever. So like he's not the architect, but what the hell was his name in this? Neil Patrick Harris. When he was referring to his predecessor, to me that's obviously the architect, right? So, but he's like a total douchebag, and everybody is kind of flavored. It feels like everybody kind of got flavored with everybody else, and the only people who are the same are the people who still look like themselves and they're older. So Niobe, looks like Jada Pinkett. The Merovingian looks like Lambert Wilson. So these are like people or programs or whatever that didn't change, because they either, like in the case of the Merovingian and his people, they are exiles. Now they're all exiles, and that's why they're homeless, because they have no place. They, you know what I mean? They don't belong. They don't really belong in the Matrix anymore. Yeah, see, like I said, my brain's going all over the place, and part of it is that I don't know what other people have said, because I haven't watched anybody's spoiler reviews and stuff like that. I've just been, I got the gist of, like, some people didn't like it, but like I said, I love the way it looked. I'm so glad I saw it in a theater on one of the bigger screens. I'm not a fan of IMAX, so I wouldn't say do that, but because IMAX, you're too close or too high up or whatever. Oh, there was an interesting thing here of oh shit. Neil Patrick Harris was saying that he the worse they treat people, the more energy they provide, right? Because remember, they're batteries. So the worse they treat them, the more energy they provide. That, to me, I started, like, I wrote in big huge letters in my notes, Garmonbozia. If you know what Garmonbozia is, good for you. If you don't, there's a concept in Twin Peaks, and you should really watch Twin Peaks, but there's a concept in Twin Peaks that there are otherworldly forces that feed off of the pain and suffering of people. And that didn't come from Twin Peaks. I mean, there's the idea that there are, you know, forces in the world, like magical forces, evil forces, demon type things that do gain power from people suffering, you know. So it was interesting that he said basically that's, if they treat the humans like crap, then they're, you know, they'll be better batteries somehow. So they'll give them more energy. And right around that area, that's when things started getting really Sense8 to me, when you started to see the two guys from Sense8, and there was all that other stuff. Well, like once Neo came out of the pod. And to me, what was interesting was that, like, at first I thought it could be clones, but it was obviously, you know, older Neo in that pod. So he, they put him in there after they reconstructed him or whatever. What else do I have here? This is handwriting. This is what I'm saying. It's terrible. By the way, the Merovingian said he wanted a spin-off, which, honest to God, how much would I love that? So, after you get to the end, after you get to that showdown at Simulate, now I probably need, I'm gonna need to watch this a couple times. I think the fight between Chad and Tiffany could have been a little bit longer. I was getting ready to enjoy that, and it was like over. The way they had all that, basically SWAT people, is how I guess the Matrix does it now. But them on the motorcycle, that whole thing was just, I thought it was so great. And, you know, especially in the cafe, like with the music and stuff, I thought it was really, really, I want to say staged. It's like I have too many ideas, and they're all trying to come out at once. The way it was set up, and the way it was, what was the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean? Just the composition of the whole thing was really perfect with the music and everything. I thought, that's when at that point I said, no, I can't ding it a 0.5, because from Simulate on, I was like, no. The showdown there, I was like, no, this is too good. And like I said, it just looked beautiful. Then that last bit with, you know, where they're beating up Neil Patrick Harris and stuff like that. I mean, I could see people getting aggravated if they think that, oh, now Trinity's more powerful. That's not what it is. Like I said, they're twin flames. You have to understand the concept. Soulmates is different. Twin flames is like two halves of a whole. You can't have one without the other. You know what I mean? again, when they're standing up on the building and they're looking into the sun, I thought that the sun, at the end of Revolutions, I thought that the sun was the source. Okay? Because if you remember when they were going in there and then it was supposed to be the light code, but it was all yellow. So I felt like the sun is a source. The sun is a battery. I mean, it charges a battery. You know what I mean? The sun is like, even at the end of Tommy, you know, when listening to you, I'm all over the place. Nobody's gonna understand what I'm saying. I'm saying I like the goddamn movie. 10 out of 10. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I don't know if it's my favorite movie of the year. I really can't wait to go and watch what everybody else said now. And there were so many references. I mean, when him and Trinity jump off the thing, it's like Thelma and Louise, you know. And I like that she got mad at him for using children. If you understand that, maybe not. Maybe those of us who don't have kids only understand that. They kept talking about the suits, and he kept talking about the suits, and it was like the suits were in charge. And to me, I'm like, are they still talking about Warner Brothers? Because I'm like, who are the suits? And then the whole thing, they're talking about the sheeple and how they're not going anywhere, and people stop caring about being free. And I was like, this is like my whole gripe with everybody on Earth right now. It's like, did I write this? You know what I mean? So it's just like, wherever I was going to ding it 0.5, I had to add everything back, because it's like the only problem I have is just a little bit of that Neil Patrick Harris movie. But I mean, like I said, I loved it. I would love the Merovingian spinoff. Like I said, I still love him. He's still my favorite. Yeah. I want to watch it a bunch more times. I don't have the HBO Max. The people who have the HBO Max are lucky in that they can do that. But I am glad that I saw it on the big screen, and if the people who have HBO Max should still go see it on the big screen, because it looks that great. I think it looks better than the other movies. I can't emphasize the lighting. It's just so perfect. Yeah. That swarm was interesting. I'm gonna have to understand that a little bit better, but that was like, that's like a computer thing, right? Like malware? I don't even know how you would say it, like, because once I realized that, once I had the idea that Chad was an agent, and then like when he turned on her, I was like, now look. So he was able to be swarmed. That means they can just anytime use people. That's why they started making people be these program thingies. They're people looking. They started using them as bombs, which was also very cool. I think if people like sit with it and think about it, maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't. But I really loved it. I'm gonna have to cut this down a little bit, I think, because I did too much pausing and hemming and hawing. But yeah, 10 out of 10. I don't know if it's my favorite movie this year. There are a few that I like that right kind of around the same amount, but I obviously need to watch this again. It's going to take a long time for that to happen, but yeah, I have no issue with it. It to me, it totally fits in with the other movies. I don't know if people think it's like, I don't know what people think. I need to find out what people think, and then maybe I'll have some further thoughts once I calm the hell down and everything else. But yeah, I think Lana Wachowski did a great job, and I don't know what people wanted instead. Like I said, I had my own ideas. Mine would have been different, possibly slightly better. It would have been more consistent with the mythology. You know what I mean? If he had just come, like I said, if he had come back as I didn't think he died. Anyway. Laughed at something on the TV, but I'm happy with it. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad it was out, and I'm glad I went to see it in the theater. And if this ends up being the last movie I will ever see in the theater, that would be fantastic, because I'm glad I forced myself out there.